have created our model. We've also created a nice render set. The last thing we need to do is create an output file or a production file for this particular model. I'm going to start by deleting some of the superfluous parts here, being these annotations. Let me select the entire dimensions layer and delete. There's a couple of curves here I'm going to delete. Don't need those. I'm also going to delete all of the gems. Now, the gems look like they're on the gems layer, but they're actually on the curves layer here. So I'm going to cell block. That's just going to allow me to grab all of those and delete them. Okay, so we've got two options here. We can either cast the entire head as one piece and the shank as a second piece. I suppose we could also cast everything as one piece, or we can cast the center cluster separately from the wire basket. And this way you get a cleaner model, because you're able to get underneath here, you're able to polish up these areas here, you're able to disc in between the claws and get a nice sort of polish there. So that's the way I'm going to do it. I'm going to bring that head back there. I will change the layer just so we can easily see what our three parts are going to be. Now the tip of the shank here, we do need to trim this back slightly. I'm going to select these two objects here, hold down Alt as I drag. You can see I've got a little plus mark there by my cursor, so I'm making a duplicate. And I'm going to put this on the cutters layer. Mirror that across to the other side, and then I can do a Boolean difference and delete away the orange cutters. And that's just kind of just trimmed back a little bit. You can see we didn't need to do much. In fact, you could argue that you don't need to do that at all, but a jeweler can sort of trim this back and make that fit quite easily, but we'll do it anyway. The other thing I want to do is I need to create some locating, or I guess I need to Boolean away these claws here out of our under bezel. And what I want to do is I want to select all of our geometry here and bring this down a touch, again tapping Alt to make a duplicate. I just want to bring it down. You can see that's about 0.15 millimeters, something like that. And with those still selected, again, I'm going to put those on the cutters layer. So now I've got two sets of claws, the ones we're going to use and the ones I'm going to use as a cutter. The reason I've done this is because I don't want the claws to cut in as much as what is in the model here. I want whoever's assembling this to be able to drop in a little burr and just tidy that up a little bit, and this is all going to fit nicely. So I don't want to cut in as much, which is why I've dropped these cutters down a little bit and away from our under bezels. So again, Boolean difference. This time I'm going to right click and select these objects here, right click again, and that way I'm doing a Boolean difference using an entire layer. So all of this here is ready to go. I'm going to lift that up into position. Now, if you remember, it does like to add in the claws that we've previously deleted. I'm going to delete those again. If I want to stop that from happening, I can purge history by using the history purge command. And now whenever I move this, those claws aren't going to reappear. I'm going to use a Boolean union just to union that entire top plate together. It looks like I've got a failure. So I'm going to do this individually. And each time I do this, I'm checking that the operation is successful. And now I've got the entire plate there. I'm going to see if I can do the claws in one shot. It looks like it's failed again. We'll do all four claws there. That's worked. That's worked. Okay, it looks like I've got some duplicate clause here, which is why that Boolean union is failing. So these two here were duplicated. I've got a duplicate here. And that looks like that's all of them. So let's try that again. Okay, this time it was successful. So somehow I've managed to add some extra duplicate clause. I don't know where that's happened, but sometimes if you get a Boolean union fail, that can be the cause of it. The other thing I want to do is grab all of these. I doubt that a union is going to work, but I'll give it a shot. You can see that's failed. I'm just going to group those together and I'm going to purge history. I also want my locator, which is going to dive into the bridge here and be attached at the bottom here, my little pin. That's going to be part of the course assets, the basket pin. So I'm going to drag and drop this in and import this in place. Move it up into position, do a Boolean difference. This time I want to keep the cutter, so delete cutters equals no. And then I can move this up into position here, and again just group those together. I'm going to select curves and delete those. And this is our resulting file. So you can see we've got the scoops cut out of our under bezels here. Those are all ready to receive those claws once that gets up and soldered into position. Like I said, you could do this as one piece if you wanted. It is going to prevent access to the underside of this head here. So personally, I prefer to do this kind of thing in 3 pieces, but how you want to do it, I guess, is up to you. Now, once we've got all of these pieces together, I'm just going to type show, make sure that nothing is hidden there, and make sure all of my layers are on, so that I've got nothing on hidden layers. And now I can save this as a production file. Saving that as a 3DM first, and also as an STL file. So with all of that done, I'm just going to double click my STL file, bringing it into our STL viewer, and just have a good check and make sure that everything is looking the way that it should, that I've got all the correct amount of claws, nothing is missing, and nothing is looking strange. So that is our clustering from start to finish. The next video I'm going to do the same clustering, but a slight variation on this, where the claws are not on the ends of the gems, but rather shared claws in between them.